Hello there, Pursuing Freedom friends. Thanks as always for being with us today. We've got a great show in store for you. I'm really excited to introduce you guys to Craig Curelop. This dude is crushing it. He's 27 years old and he's already financially independent from real estate investing. He also sells real estate, has his license right now with eXp Realty in the Denver metro area. And he's already written and published a book called The House Hacking Strategy, which is his specific niche and how he's building his real estate business. So the whole story is super fascinating, and I'm going to let Craig go ahead and share his background and how he's arrived at this stage at such a young age, because this is just fascinating and super inspiring. So, Craig, thanks for being on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. So tell us a little bit about your backstory. I mean, how is it that you've arrived where you're at today in this real estate journey of yours?
Yeah, so really it all started back when I was in California at a job that I absolutely hated, and I always call that a blessing in disguise. At the time I didn't like it, but it's allowed me to really leverage my career now. And so basically I was, working 100 hours a week or whatever it was for a job that I hated, for a boss that I didn't like, to make my boss 10 times more money. I'm like, man, there's no way that I want to live life like this. And so I kind of discovered the whole financial independence movement, all that kind of stuff. Being in the heart of Silicon Valley, I was trying to think of dumb startup idea after dumb startup idea after dumb startup idea for that passive income. But then I was just like, you know what, man, real estate, it works, right? Like real estate has been around for hundreds, thousands of years. People have become very wealthy from real estate. Why try to reinvent the wheel and try to become like the next Mark Zuckerberg when I can just do what works and live a good life? And so that's when I kind of stumbled upon Bigger Pockets, started listening to their webinars, listening to the podcast, reading all their books and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, man, yeah, like I can do this for sure. So shortly after learning about Bigger Pockets, I moved to Denver. I got a job at Bigger Pockets, which was kind of like fate, it felt. And then, began my journey by purchasing my first house hack actually in North City Park, just 5 blocks north of City Park, and started house hacking from there. That first property there was a duplex, top bottom duplex. I lived in the bottom, rented out the top, but the top wasn't quite covering my mortgage, and I really wanted to live for free. So what I ended up doing was I ended up Airbnb-ing my bedroom and putting up a curtain and room divider in the living room, and that was my bedroom for a year while I Airbnb'd out my bedroom. And it was just like it was a fun year for sure, but I was very disciplined, saving all the money that I could so I could buy that second house hack in exactly 1 year and just keep this process going.
Okay, so there's so much we need to unpack here, which is awesome, especially if the listener is a real estate agent or a lender, because what I love about what you're doing is that you're not only creating a path of freedom for yourself, but as a selling agent, you can now teach this to others. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about that first purchase. When you talk about how you knew you wanted to do a house hack, did you just put the minimum down payment down? Did you have to put down 20%? Like, what did that look like on the first one?
Yeah, no, so it was a duplex. So I did a 3.5% FHA loan.
Wow.
That was the first one.
All right. So you only had to save how much to roughly?
I put $17,000 down on the first property.
Awesome. Okay. And then from there, you wanted to have your mortgage covered, and your income at that point was coming from your job with Bigger Pockets, correct?
That's correct, yes.
So then how much did you try to save and put away in order to be able to do your next one?
So I think at that point, before I purchased a house hack, I was saving about $800 a month. Then once I got that house hack, and after I had the Airbnb and everything, I was saving a lot closer to about $2,000 to $3,000 a month. So, I basically kept my expenses the same or even lowered them while continuing to make more money, getting raises at Bigger Pockets, earning bonuses at my W-2, investing in real estate, and then, just basically having all of the leverages, like make more, spend less, and invest wisely is kind of like the 3 best ways to make money.
Yeah.
And so I was using all of those in my favor so I could then save up another 30 or 40 grand in 1 year for the next property.
Okay, awesome. And, if you guys are listening and you haven't already listened to the episode with Scott Trench, who wrote Set for Life, these two are buddies, and you can hear a lot of the same philosophy coming out here, which is this, frugality combined with house hacking to create the savings to be able to reinvest, which is super smart. And so you got the first place, and then how long before you bought the second? Was it 1 year?
Exactly 1 year. Yeah.
Exactly 1 year later.
Yeah.
Okay. And then how many doors do you have currently?
So I currently have 8 total doors. Right now, I've got 5 units in Denver, which over 3 properties, and I've got 3 single-family houses in North Carolina.
So when did you feel compelled to get your real estate license and start helping others do the same?
So I actually got my real estate license in that first year of house hacking. You go through this lull period where there's really not much else you can do except wait. And so in that period of waiting, I actually got my real estate license. And the original intent was to just get it for me and I'll just do my own deals. And that's how it was for about a year and a half or so. And then late 2019, I started really helping others because I was like, man, heck, if I can achieve financial independence, like I had a negative net worth 3 years ago, and now I'm financially independent. Like if I can do that this quickly, and so many others have also done it, like I know that I can help other people do it, and that's really what's gratifying to me is helping other people get into their first, second, or third house hacks and get one step closer to financial independence, so they can do what they love to do.
So how long into buying your first house and then your second house, like at what point did you quit your job with Bigger Pockets and go full time into real estate?
It was after my third house.
Okay.
After my third house hack was fully settled. So after I got tenants in there, it's part Airbnb, part rent by the room. So once I got the rent by the roomers in there, once the Airbnb was set up, I kind of waited a few months. Actually, and the way I tested it was instead of taking a paycheck from Bigger Pockets, I actually just put 100% of my paycheck into my 401k. And so I figured, okay, well, if I can live for 3 months without taking a single dollar out of my paycheck, I can last. And so that was kind of like my litmus test.
Yeah.
And obviously I was maxing out my 401k in the process. So it was kind of like a win-win. And that's what made me decide that, yeah, I was ready to go.
That's really interesting the way you tested it like that. I never thought about doing that. So, okay, so there's so much I love here. So, as a real estate agent now, you're able to really educate your buyers and sellers, or probably buyers when it comes to doing the house hacking strategy. So, talk to us a little bit about how you've gone about branding yourself and attracting clients, because I know you're looking to do 30 to 40 transactions this year in 2020 at the time of this recording, which is a really healthy business. So, what are you doing specifically to build that brand and attract those kinds of clients?
So really it's just consistency. And honestly, I've done it without knowing over the past 2 years. So I've been writing for the Bigger Pockets blog. I've probably got 50 or 60 posts there. I'm constantly in the forums on Bigger Pockets because many of the high quality leads are on Bigger Pockets. So you really want to have a face there. I know I wrote the book on house hacking, so that helps build the brand. So just kind of consistently writing and consistently putting myself out there is really how I built my brand. And then I've translated that through Instagram. When I go on showings with clients, I try to post it on my story or show numbers or kind of give different house hacking tips on my Instagram posts. And just really just try to provide tons and tons of value without expecting anything in return. And then you just have to know that karma will get the best of it, and you'll get paid back somehow, some way. But just provide value with expecting nothing in return, and you'll be very wealthy at some point.
Yeah. So 30 to 40 transactions a year, if that, if you hit your goals, which I'm sure you will, that's a pretty busy and somewhat consuming amount of volume. Are you also looking to scale your real estate business in the process and build out a team?
Yeah, so I am actually looking to build out a house hacking team. A lot of the clients that I serve are very financially driven as well. So they're looking to get their license, and I always encourage it. And I honestly say that, hey, like, after I think you do your first deal with an agent, so you can actually at least have someone guide you through the first process. But I always say, for your second one, get your license. Like, because you can make in Denver, the average commission is, for a house hack is between 350 and $450,000. The commission on that is about 10 grand. And so I'm like, if you can do one deal a year, and even if it's just your own deal, it's worth having your license. So I always tell everybody to get their license, and then I hope that they'll, join my house hacking team, because I can kind of be the face and funnel them all of the leads and kind of guide them and their clients through the process, and kind of removing myself away from the day to day is my ultimate goal. Yeah.
Awesome. And what's your perspective on, you're obviously investing where you live and you're also investing out of state. So what do you see like pros and cons of continuing to invest in a city like Denver, where we've seen such rapid appreciation over the last 10 years? Like, what is your perspective on pros and cons? If you're, are you looking at it like we're at the top of the market, or are you worried about ups and downs, or is it really just about creating income because there's a demand for housing and demand for renters?
For me, I think the first thing you have to do when if your goal is financial independence, like the first thing you need is cash flow, right? And so once you have the cash flow, then you kind of can worry about appreciation and all that kind of stuff. So like cash flow makes you become financially independent, and then appreciation makes you rich, is what I always say. So the first thing you need is the cash flow. And so because my I'm financially independent with my Denver real estate, and I think that's great. But I also am getting kind of cute in Denver, right? Where I've got a couple of properties that I rent by the room. I've got a couple that, I've got the one that I'm living in that's Airbnb. I've got a couple that are traditional rentals. And so it's just so different. I don't think it's super scalable for me to have 10 or 15 properties that way in Denver. So I'm comfortable with my like $3,000 to $4,000 of passive income in Denver. And now I want to replicate that same amount of passive income in another area that's a little bit more safe. I'm not going to get as much appreciation, but the property prices are cheaper. And it's just like all day renters. That way, if Denver for some reason goes to crap, my strategies go to crap, I kind of have a redundancy in the second market that I've chosen, and vice versa, right? And the odds of both markets taking at the same exact time and me losing all of my cash flow is very low compared to just having one go away. So I kind of like that redundancy aspect to it.
Okay, so for the listeners who are maybe considering following the same path, what's been the biggest challenge and the biggest reward of going to a less expensive market than where you live?
So the biggest challenge, honestly, is just kind of you lose a lot of control, and you really have to trust the people that are there. I found these guys at a conference that basically help out-of-state investors. They've got contractors, they've got property managers, they've got the whole team for you, and they just are very high energy, awesome people. And so I was like, you know what, I'm willing to kind of give it a go with them. And so I bought 3 properties with them as kind of a test trial to see how it's going. And if we get these properties up and rented in a timely manner, I'm going to go round 2 and buy 3 more. And my goal there is just to buy 3 a quarter with them for this year.
Okay.
And sorry.
No, that's good. So when it comes to buying through this group you've got out that specializes in out-of-state investors, are they just basically making their money on being the real estate agent and on getting the construction jobs, or is there more to the program in general?
I know they take a cut from the commission, like, on the purchase price. They do so much volume because so many people know about them that, like, they build a brand themselves. It's like, yeah, the turnkey type people out, they're in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And yeah, so they also, the purchase prices are so small there that honestly the commissions aren't that big. So they may say up front, hey, if we're selling you a deal that's like under 50,000, we're going to have to take a bigger cut because it's the same amount of work, whether you do a $40,000 deal or a $800,000 deal, really. So, they let you know up front, and I think it's very fair, and they deserve to get paid.
Awesome. Well, it's impressive to me that at such a young age, you clearly are an avid learner and an avid implementer. So, if someone's wanting to wrap their head around all this, besides the obvious buying your book, The House Hacking Strategy, what are some of the other influences that have been impactful for you in your journey of just like learning and implementing?
Bigger Pockets is by and far the largest. I think any type of information you would want to know on real estate investing is on Bigger Pockets. So if you're not on there, you have to get on there. There's always the types of like productivity books and business books and stuff that are really good. There's the One Thing, 4-Hour Work Week. All of the traditional books that you hear 100 times. Like if you haven't read them, there's a reason why they're mentioned 100 times. It's because they're so impactful. So make sure you get all the classics down. I'm not going to sit here and rack my brain for a book that no one's ever read, because if no one's ever read it, it's probably not that good.
Right.
One that does not come up very much that I did like a lot was The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. It has come up, but it's not as popular as the other ones. And also Never Split the Difference is also a great book.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I've actually never heard of Never Split the Difference. So that's
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, you have to read that. It's like the most entertaining educational book you'll ever read.
So in your experience with your real estate clients, Are you finding that you're attracting demographically similar folks as yourself? Like this seems to be more popular with the younger demographic, or do you find that you're attracting clients of all ages that are ready to make a radical change by having roommates and doing house hacking and being willing to kind of make those sacrifices that you need to make in the early stages of this journey?
Yeah, so I would say about 80% of my clients are around my age. Sometimes it's someone just like me, single guy just trying to, kind of rent by the room or just make some extra money. Other times it's couples. They just want to Airbnb the basement or whatever it is, just, kind of offset their living expenses. And there are a few cases where I actually help out just traditional investors that want to just put 20% down, but get a little bit of a higher return. And, I help them with, I kind of guide them through the whole rent by the room strategy and how you can and take them into a house and see how you can kind of extract the most possible cash flow from any given house, whether it will rent, what strategies they could do, all that kind of stuff. So,
Well, as you're looking at properties and you're specifically targeting that type of property, are there any properties that you find that won't work for house hacking?
yeah, I mean, sometimes if the price is too high, it won't work. If the layout's not good, it won't work. If it's not in a good location, it won't work. I mean, it's hard to just give you like a broad,
Sure.
it's kind of like a case by case basis. And also you want to make sure that it coincides with my client's goals, right? Like sometimes they don't care too much about the cash flow. They want to live comfortably, but they don't want to pay $1,500 a month in rent. Well, yeah, we can get you living almost free for maybe a couple $100. You pay a couple $100 for your mortgage, but you're Airbnb and you're downstairs, or maybe you've got one other roommate or something like that.
Awesome. Well, the other nice thing about being able to educate your clients in this way is that you're also creating such value for them that you're also creating value, you're creating clients for life, right? Like,
hmm
because once they figure out that they can do this too, you're not just going to have one closing and then not have another one for 7 years with that person, right? I mean, in most cases, they're going to be coming back to you year after year and trying to follow your path.
Right. Yeah. In most cases, yeah. Hopefully they will come back to me, or hopefully they'll get their license themselves, and then we can be on a team. That's kind of what I would love more than anything.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like every real estate agent or every mortgage lender, knowing what we know in this, like having the knowledge we have about the business, the market, et cetera, we should all be investing in real estate and creating that passive income, because the actual process of running a successful real estate or mortgage business takes it out of you. Like it's an all-in game, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Are you now, like, one of the questions I had is that, when you achieve financial independence, and in theory, you wouldn't have to work if you didn't want to work. How long do you see yourself kind of going after it hardcore in the real estate game before you're going to be ready to kind of either change directions or, I guess, just live off of that passive income? And do you have like aspirations to travel, or, where do you see yourself going in the next 5 years?
Yeah. So I definitely never like to think 5 years out. I think that's too far. Um, I think more like 1 to 2 years out. And so, I definitely want to, I want to build kind of a brand as an agent out here in Denver. I want to build a team out here in Denver. And ultimately, by next year, I want to be able to remove myself so that I don't have to be in Denver to help people. So I want to basically be able to train and basically make, little replicas so people know as just as much or more than me in the house hacking game, so that I can kind of, I can kind of bring in leads. I can refer the leads out to them. They can kind of still represent it under, just basically build a team. This is exactly what I'm saying.
Yep.
And then, next year I do plan to take some time off and go travel and kind of let my real estate investments and the agent business kind of fund those adventures.
Perfect. So I want to dig in a little bit too. I know that you have a pretty big following on Instagram at the Fi Guy, which is the FI guy. Um, Talk to me a little bit about what your lead generation strategy looks like. I mean, are you solely focused on generating leads through online marketing, or do you do kind of grassroots marketing of making sales calls, sending handwritten notes? Like, what does your lead gen strategy look like?
Yeah, so I've never made a phone call or done any handwritten notes or anything like that. Everything has just been really from building a brand over the last 2 years. It's, a lot of it is on, some people direct message me on Instagram. A lot of people reach out to me on Bigger Pockets. A lot of it will be referrals. Um, yeah, I mean, those are kind of like the three biggest, because I wrote the book, they'll reach out to me because of that.
Yeah.
Kind of from all angles. And a lot of it is inbound, which is really nice. I meet a lot of people at meetups. I go to meetups and I talk to them and kind of, teach them how I've done it and show how they can do it as well. And that's usually pretty powerful. I also host a meetup here in Denver for a house hacking meetup. And so, all of those kind of strategies all kind of work together. And that's how I generate most of my leads. And that's how that's kind of what, and I enjoy doing those things, right? Like I enjoy writing, I enjoy networking and talking to people. I absolutely hate calling people on the phone, and I hate doing direct mail and all that stuff. So those are heavy tasks for me. So I don't see why I would do those when I would be bad at them, and they just wouldn't be effective for me. So that's why I just focus on the things that I like.
I love that so much. And you really just hit the nail on the head, because it's funny, over the course of the last couple of years doing this podcast, one of the coolest side effects is uncovering the diversity in which folks grow their business. And the ones that are having the most fun and the easiest success are doing exactly what you just said, which is what you're good at and what you enjoy, and that's all you do. And you don't try to force yourself into other things, where I feel like, even myself, I feel like I previously would push people to make the calls and do the traditional sales strategies that all the sales training coaches will give you. And what I'm learning is that you don't really need to do that. If you've got something that you're good at, I had a gal on the podcast who makes six figures selling real estate, and she only works 10 to 15 hours a week, and all of her business is attracted by the stories she writes on Instagram. So it's really fascinating that you've kind of figured out what you're good at and what you enjoy, and you're just kind of honoring that, and it's working. So congratulations on that. Okay, so if folks want to find you, follow you, you mentioned people contact you through Bigger Pockets. What do you mean by that? Are you on a blog there, and then they can comment on it and find you?
Yeah, so there's a blog on Bigger Pockets. If you comment on one of my blog posts, I probably will never find you, just because it's just hard to read all of those.
Yeah.
Especially if it's like a historic one. But the best way to reach me would be on Instagram, at the Fi Guy. You can just send me a direct message there. The second best way would probably be on Bigger Pockets. You can go to my profile and send me a message on there. And the third is you can find me on Facebook or any other social media site as well. But I'm definitely most active on Instagram.
And so, apart from the meetup that you host for teaching people about house hacking, are you doing anything else in the way of like a conference or an event or anything like that where you'll be presenting these topics?
I do speak at a decent amount of events. I know I'm speaking at this Financial Freedom Summit in May in St. Louis, and also at Bigger Pockets Conference in New Orleans. So if you haven't gotten tickets to those, I highly recommend that. I don't throw a conference myself, if that's your question, but I do speak at quite a few.
Awesome. All right, sweet. Well, Craig, I mean, I'm really blown away by everything you've accomplished thus far, and I'm excited to follow along and see where you're headed with all this stuff. If folks want to get in touch with you and either join your team in Denver or, hire you to help them do a house hack in the Denver area, what's the best way to reach you? Just through the social media channels? Or
Instagram. Instagram would probably be the best way. Just direct message me on Instagram or Bigger Pockets. If you want to learn more about the strategy itself, you can pick up the book at biggerpockets.com/househack. Other than that, and if you do pick up the book, please send me a message and let me know what you think too. I always love the feedback. So.
All right. I love it. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule and sharing your story with us today.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah. And for all you Pursuing Freedom friends, thanks as always for tuning in. And if you're enjoying the content here, don't forget to leave a review wherever you're consuming it, because it helps us continue to attract these great guests like Craig and help this content get found to help you on your journey to freedom. So make it an awesome day. I appreciate you as always.